Am I wrong for not letting my family have a part in a huge discovery I made? So, this is a story about the Donovan family, the one I was born into. The family that always saw me as the lesser daughter. To give some context, my grandfather Lionel was a genius in his own right. He invented a groundbreaking lithium extraction method decades ago. Unfortunately, the Donovan family had no interest in supporting or even acknowledging his work. When he passed, all his patents and notes were just gathering dust. That is, until I stumbled upon them. I realized right away that if I wanted to develop this find responsibly, I had to proceed immediately and in complete secrecy. By sunrise, I had a mental checklist of 3 key phone calls. 1 to secure the patents, 1 to confirm the deposit's authenticity, and 1 to lock down the funding. I wasn't about to let my family, especially Charlotte, sabotage this just because of their greed. The next morning, I stepped onto the weather-worn porch and dialed the first number. George Harrington, a seasoned attorney specializing in intellectual property. I had met George years ago during my renewable energy projects. He was discreet, skilled, and had the legal clout to protect this innovation. Amelia, it's been forever, he greeted, his voice calm. An early call means something big is happening, right? Without revealing too much, I said, I've come across some invaluable technology. My grandfather's work. I need to protect it with absolute secrecy. Within an hour, I forwarded George a secure digital package with the details. He promised to file the patents under a layered shell corporation, ensuring no link to the Donovan name would show up in any public records. This was crucial. Charlotte would be furious if she knew the patent was out of her reach. The second call was to Bella Kim, a renowned geologist who once served as a university professor before transitioning to advising top-tier mining ventures. Bella and I had worked together on a green energy study, so she knew how dedicated I was to responsible progress. Amelia, she said, sounding amused, this is quite the surprise. What can I do for you? I need your professional evaluation of something massive, I told her, keeping it vague. You need to see it firsthand to understand. 2 days later, Bella arrived at the Donovan Ranch with sophisticated survey gear. After hours of scouring the property, she came back with wide, electrified eyes. Amelia, do you know what you're sitting on? She asked. Based on these test results, this could be the largest lithium reserve in the United States, maybe even beyond. If your grandfather's method works as efficiently as it looks, it could completely upend the world's supply chain for lithium. I already suspected it, but hearing it from an expert sent a wave of adrenaline through me. If we could harness the deposit responsibly and refine my grandfather's approach, we could become pioneers in the shift toward cleaner energy. Bella pledged her support, offering to help finalize the extraction techniques. The third call was to Owen Chambers, a venture capitalist known for investing in disruptive startups and innovative green technologies. When I told him what I'd uncovered, his interest was immediate. Count me in for $100 million, he said. Form a new entity. No mention of your surname. We'll keep everything under wraps until we're ready. I established Teralith Solutions, a new company shielded by multiple layers of corporate anonymity. Within weeks, all the patents, legal rights, and newly acquired drilling permits were under Teralith's name. The hush-hush nature of the operation ensured Charlotte and Aunt Beatrice had no clue. They still thought I was just wasting my time on a worthless desert ranch. In just a matter of months, Teralith Solutions transformed the once-neglected Donovan Ranch into a cutting-edge lithium extraction site. Bella and I, along with a core group of skilled engineers, refined grandfather Lionel's blueprint. We cut extraction costs drastically and minimized the environmental impact. The world would soon see that the useless ranch was, in fact, a game-changer. Teralith Solutions quickly made a name for itself. We signed massive contracts with Tesla, major smartphone manufacturers, and global battery producers, skyrocketing the company's value from a modest $100 million to $1.2 billion. But that's when the trouble started. One morning, my phone buzzed with an incoming call from an unmistakable number. Charlotte. Amelia, she said, voice tight with alarm. I need you to confirm something. Is Teralith Solutions your operation? The entire business world is buzzing about it. Feigning mild amusement, I replied, Teralith Solutions? Yes, I'm aware it's making headlines. Why do you ask? She sighed, the sound sharp with frustration. Amelia, why keep me in the dark? We're family. We should be collaborating on something of this magnitude. Family? I nearly laughed. This was the same family that handed me a worthless piece of desert land while giving Charlotte everything. You mean, I said, my voice colder, the same family that ridiculed me and gave me this desert land while handing you hundreds of millions in assets. There was a pause on the other end. She tried a more diplomatic approach. Mom and Dad wouldn't have wanted you to hoard such a life-changing discovery. This is bigger than personal grudges. We can work together. I was done. I'm already more than satisfied with Teralith Solutions' current direction. We have all the backing we need. Good luck with the Donovan Empire. She didn't like that at all. Within days, Aunt Beatrice, the family's behind-the-scenes power broker, served me with a formal notification claiming that my grandfather's intellectual property rightfully belonged to the broader Donovan estate. They wanted immediate transfer. They threatened legal action. Too bad I'd prepared. The patents had been re-registered under a carefully established trust, and Teralith Solutions was protected by a complex shell network. The legal claims collapsed faster than they were filed, but that wasn't enough to stop them. A few days later, I was summoned to a family council at the Donovans' lavish Manhattan townhouse. I didn't want to go at first, but then I thought, why not see their panic up close? I walked into that expansive conference room, brimming with dark marble and the faint echo of countless deals. They used to dismiss me like an afterthought. Now, they eyed me warily, unsure how to proceed. Aunt Beatrice launched into her speech, but I wasn't interested in her words. Instead, I pulled out one of Grandfather Lionel's notebooks from my bag and flipped to a page where he had written, "Only Amelia believes in this land's true potential." I read it aloud, letting the words settle in the heavy silence. Then I looked at them and calmly said, "My parents never believed I could accomplish anything of worth. That was their critical error." And with that, I walked out, leaving my stunned relatives behind, feeling a surge of triumph. The story wasn't over yet, though. I knew them well enough to suspect they'd intensify their pursuit. My success had flipped everything they knew about me on its head, and Donovan pride wouldn't let them back down easily. A few days later, Charlotte invited me to dinner at an exclusive restaurant in Midtown Manhattan. I accepted, but only to observe her next move. She'd already tried the direct approach. Now, I figured she'd try something more subtle. When I arrived, she greeted me with a glass of wine in front of her, and after a few pleasantries, she got down to business. "We both know Teralith is bigger than just one person," she said. "My connections in finance could propel it to even greater success. We'd be unstoppable as partners." I swirled my untouched wine, weighing her words. "Why do I suspect you want a partner just to gain the upper hand and edge me out eventually?" She tried to keep her composure, but I wasn't fooled. "We're siblings," she said. "Maybe we didn't get along well, but surely we can find common ground in something like this." I couldn't stop the derisive laugh that escaped me. "You mean the way Dad found common ground with Grandfather Lionel? Locking him out of decision-making until he had no choice but to vanish into the desert with his last invention." Charlotte's composure cracked. "That's not a fair analogy." I wasn't done yet. "Your synergy would see me replaced by board members loyal to you or pushed into a subsidiary role while the Donovan name takes center stage. You can't fool me with empty offers." She sighed, muttering something about me being short-sighted. But I stood up, drained my water, and walked out. "Good luck with your other investments," I said. "Teralith is thriving without your involvement." And I left her there, frustration coloring her face as I made my exit. Am I wrong for turning my back on my family and building my own legacy? I don't know if this will get buried or if anyone will care, but I feel like I need to share what happened. I've been holding on to a lot of emotions, and writing it down helps. It all started when I received a call from Charlotte, my sister. She had that tone, half alarmed, half trying to play it cool. "Amelia, is Teralith Solutions your operation?" she asked, her voice strained. I kept it neutral, trying not to sound too smug. "Teralith Solutions? Yeah, I'm aware it's making headlines. Why do you ask?" She didn't waste time. "Amelia, why keep me in the dark? We're family. We should be collaborating on something this big." The mention of family hit me like a punch to the gut. I couldn't stop my mind from going back to that day in the attorney's office. The day Charlotte had ridiculed me in front of everyone. I had to remind her, "You mean the family that handed me a worthless piece of desert land while gifting you hundreds of millions in assets?" There was a pause. She tried to pivot, softening her approach. "Mom and Dad wouldn't have wanted you to hoard something like this. This is bigger than personal grudges. We can work together. My resources are extensive." I wasn't buying it. I'm already more than satisfied with Teralith's direction. We have all the backing we need. "Good luck with the Donovan Empire," I said, cutting her off. She was cold now, her voice tight. "You don't understand the complexities. You can't do this alone. Controlling something like lithium could draw unwanted attention." I grinned, finally allowing myself a small victory. "I assure you, Charlotte, I know exactly what I'm doing. Feel free to test me if you think otherwise." And just like that, I ended the call. A few days later, Aunt Beatrice, our family's power player behind the scenes, sent me formal notifications about my grandfather's intellectual property. Apparently, they believed it rightfully belonged to the Donovan estate and demanded an immediate transfer. They threatened legal action, but I was prepared. My patents had been re-registered under a carefully established trust. Teralith Solutions was shielded by a shell network, leaving no direct connection to the Donovan name. The family's legal claims collapsed faster than they could file them, which led to an emergency family council in their Manhattan townhouse. I wasn't planning on attending at first, but curiosity won out. When I walked into that conference room, I could practically feel their tension. Aunt Beatrice started talking about the family holdings, but all I could think was how they had dismissed me, treating me like an afterthought. Charlotte's eyes were filled with wariness now, not the condescending confidence she usually had. I didn't reply immediately. Instead, I pulled out one of Grandfather Lionel's notebooks. I flipped through the pages until I found the one where he wrote, "Only Amelia believes in this land's true potential." I read it aloud, letting the words hang in the air. The room fell silent. I set the notebook down and said, "My parents never believed I could accomplish anything of worth. That was their mistake, not mine." And then I walked out. The family's attempts to retaliate escalated, but I had already built an impenetrable fortress of legal, financial, and operational defenses. They couldn't touch me. A few days later, Charlotte invited me to dinner at a high-end restaurant in Midtown Manhattan. I wasn't sure what angle she was working this time, but I went. When I arrived, she was already sitting at the table, a glass of red wine in front of her, her usual confidence now replaced by something more desperate. "Teralith is bigger than just one person," she started. "My connections could take it to the next level. We'd be unstoppable as partners." I swirled my wine, unimpressed. "Why do I suspect you want a partner only to edge me out?" Her composure cracked. "Amelia, we're siblings. Maybe we didn't get along, but surely we can find common ground here." I couldn't help but laugh, but it was a bitter sound. "You mean the way Dad locked out Grandfather Lionel until he had no choice but to disappear into the desert with his last invention?" Charlotte's face went pale. I pressed on. "Your kind of synergy would have me replaced by board members loyal to you, while the Donovan name takes the spotlight. You can't fool me anymore." She sighed, muttering something about me being short-sighted, but I wasn't having it. "Good luck with your other investments. Teralith is thriving without you." I left her sitting there, frustrated. Then, a few weeks later, Aunt Beatrice called. Her voice shook with emotion. "Amelia, you're tarnishing the Donovan legacy. This isn't what Henry and Margaret would have wanted." I clenched my phone, remembering how invisible I felt when my parents were alive. "They'd be appalled, all right," I said, "but for their own misjudgment, not mine." And I hung up, closing the door on their illusions. The weight lifted off me. I was finally my own person, not defined by their approval or disapproval. In the following weeks, Charlotte's world began to unravel. She'd once been the star of the Donovan fortune, but a series of bad real estate deals forced her to liquidate assets, including her Manhattan penthouse. She couldn't pay her debts, and before long, that penthouse was on the market. I didn't hesitate. I had one of my shell companies, flush with Teralith stock, purchase it at a steep discount. 2 weeks later, Charlotte called me again. This time, her confidence was gone. "Amelia, you bought the penthouse, didn't you? Please, let me buy it back. I just need more time." I could see the desperation in her eyes, but I wasn't about to back down. "You remember the attorney's office, Charlotte? The day you laughed when I got the ranch?" She looked away, unable to respond. "If you need help, contact Teralith Solutions, Investor Relations. I'm sure they'll treat you fairly." I walked away, leaving her at the table, crestfallen. I never meant to destroy her life, but I refused to cower beneath her or the Donovan legacy ever again. The ranch, the land I had been given, had become my symbol of independence. It was the very thing they thought would break me that propelled me to build Teralith Solutions into a billion-dollar enterprise. Life at the ranch became more peaceful with each confrontation. New labs were built, focusing on cutting-edge battery technologies and metals. Every evening, I thought about my grandfather, Lionel, imagining the satisfaction he would have felt seeing his dream finally come to life. Not long after, I received an invitation to speak at my old high school's commencement ceremony. The theme was finding value in the overlooked. It seemed almost poetic. I'd spent my years there feeling overshadowed by Charlotte, but now I was the one standing at the forefront of a revolution in lithium extraction. As I prepared for the ceremony, I looked at old photographs in my office, my father's guarded smile, my mother's strong posture, Charlotte's polished grin, and me, standing in the background with dreams no one saw. I smiled softly. Success wasn't about gaining their approval. It was about believing in myself. If you've been moved by this story, drop a Team Amelia in the comments or hit like to show your support. Your encouragement means everything to me. I've realized that success is about finding your own power, especially when others refuse to recognize it. My vengeance was never necessary. My achievements speak for themselves. And in the end, that's all that matters. Thanks for reading.
Did you enjoy the story? Want more hilarious Reddit tales like this? Or do you prefer juicy cheating and relationship drama? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.